I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the January 3rd, 2024 Fitchburg Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission has 7 members. Members are citizens residing in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. The Commission is appointed by the City Council and serves on a volunteer basis. The Commission collaborates with the residents, businesses, and organizations to facilitate compliance with the 8 interests of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Fitchburg Wetlands Bylaw. Meetings of this commission are subject to and abide by the open meeting law. If you would like more information about any of these regulations, feel free to ask a commissioner, agent, or environmental consultant. Thank you for your commitment to the conservation of our natural resources. Thank you for your patience as we navigate this hybrid meeting. The Commission requests that folks wishing to speak approach the podium and speak clearly into the microphone. And remote attendees maintain microphones on mute for privacy. If you would like to speak, use the chat or raise your hand function to alert the chair of your intentions. Be advised this public meeting is being live streamed and recorded by FATV. If a member of the in-person audience is recording this meeting, this is your opportunity to identify yourself for the public record. I'd like to call the roll. Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye. Here.
Commissioner Tantin Arwan?
Aye.
Commissioner Satterfield in attendance. I'd like to ask to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have any announcements tonight? Anyone like to announce anything? I wanted to remind everybody that Fitchburg has some beautiful hiking trails. The last couple of days have been really exciting to walk on them, and please enjoy them. Moving on, we have our agent is out tonight, so we're going to all be patient while we navigate this. For the abutter notification cards, the hearing doesn't open without submittal of a complete application to include the abutter notices, payment of all fees and taxes. And so for the first, we've got the modification of order of conditions, Final Touch Contractor Incorporated, 122 Old Princeton Road.
The abutter cards are in.
Okay, all the taxes and fees are paid up?
Yes.
Okay. Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 13, Section 40, the Fitchburg Conservation Commission will open the hearing for modification of order of conditions, Final Touch Contractor Incorporated, 122 Old Princeton Road. Please, speaking to the notice of intent, we have Mr. Hannigan.
I'm not sure if we can bring the plans up on the screen. This product was approved several years ago under a different plan scheme. Since that time, we took the plans and reevaluated them, went back in front of the planning board, had the plans modified and adjusted, went through extensive review of city departments, including upgrades to the road, water system, et cetera, for the project. Those have all been approved by the planning board. So once those approvals were completed, it was under a special permit, so we waited for that to lapse and the appeal period to lapse so that was official, and then we filed for a requested amendment to the order of conditions. Essentially, the scope of work is essentially the same within the limits of work that were on the approved plans. One of the plans that hopefully the vice chair can bring up is a red line that I show on the site plan that shows the limits of the erosion control on the approved plan and the limits of erosion control on the plan that's currently proposed for construction. So the only areas that we extended beyond the original the original erosion control were relative to a trail that runs through the property to navigate that around the drainage system, as well as the outfall for the drainage system, which was placed in a location that was really not practical at the time. But now, with more information, we were able to put that in a location that was more feasible. So we can bring those up, then we can all look at them. And
Yeah, not working very well. So I lost connection to, yep,
Might be in another window.
that's what I was. Because that's the one we want to bring up. Share window, there we go.
while that's being worked on, some statistics of the plans,
Oh, here we go.
basically, is that the original impervious area on the property is actually being reduced by this plan. So but in addition to that, we also made improvements to the drainage system, including upgrade to current stormwater management standards, both from the perspective of DEP as well as for the stormwater standards required by the Fitchburg ordinance relative to phosphorus. So those improvements have been made as part of the project. But this is the plan here. If we can zoom in a little bit, the red line that goes around the east and the north side of the property, that is where the erosion control was shown, and you can see that we're relatively close to the same limits of erosion control, with the exception on the the northeast corner of the property. You can see the erosion control extends beyond the red line, and that's the outfall for the detention drainage system in that area to the right of your cursor.
So I can zoom into it here, but it's not
Yep, zoom over.
into the screen.
Okay, so if you bring your cursor to the right, further,
Yeah.
north. Now go up the page. Right, a little further. Right in that area there, just to the right of that, you can kind of see how the erosion control bends out a little bit to allow for the installation of the discharge pipe and the riprap that would be placed in that area. That is right at the edge of the floodplain, and the riprap is set at an elevation that would be at existing grade. Okay, so we wouldn't be filling the floodplain. We'd basically be going in there. The pipe would end at that contour elevation. We would then dig out the area for the riprap pad, put the riprap pad so there'd be no change in elevation in that particular area. However, to do that and accomplish that, we need to have the erosion control extend beyond the original limits that are shown in red. Okay. The rest of the project is, like I said, inside of the previously approved limits of work. There is a reduction in impervious area because of the fact that we were able to reduce the amount of pavement that was on the original plan. There was a lot of pavement that was probably not really needed. This plan, as I stated, was approved by the planning board and has gone through reviews of all the city departments. I see that Nick is on, so he can vouch to that, what he's talked about and what we've done with the project. But if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Hannigan. Let's open the floor for public comment. Would anyone like to speak in favor of or against this hearing, or would like to request more information? Please state your name and address for the record.
Do you want to come up here?
Hearing none, let's turn to the commission. Commissioner Jacobs.
Mr. Kennedy, I have a question, two questions, I guess. Are these rentals or condos?
I don't know, and I think that the intent is to, I guess what it comes down to is that they could be either. The way that the product is, it could be done as a condominiums and being sold, because condominium is just a different form of ownership, but they're set up as individual units that could be condominiumized, but he may build them and rent them for some time and then condominiumize them and then sell them at that point in time. As part of the approval from the planning board, we did put together an operation and maintenance project plan, which would then be incorporated into the homeowners association if it did go to condominium association. Aside from that, he would be responsible for all maintenance of the property.
All right, so the reason I asked, in your text that you submitted, there's a sub-drain that was added to the stormwater management system.
Yep.
And it says, this sub-drain shall be closed during tropical storm events, and a valve would be opened by the property management. So that's
him.
a question, who's responsible?
That actually wasn't added. That was actually something that was on the original plan, and I believe the previous plan, the commission had requested something to that effect, because it's actually an infiltration basin, but they wanted to be able to lower the basin in between storms if there was something that came up. The intent is that the manager of the property, so if Final Touch builds it and owns it, they'll have to have a property manager that'll deal with those items. But the basin will fully function without that drain being opened. Okay, so it's the intent, the drainage design is not relying on that subdrain system as part of the peak rate and/or groundwater recharge feature for the property.
Because if there is a property manager on site, then that makes sense.
Right.
They could do it. If it's a condo association, which homeowner is responsible for dealing with this drain?
Right. So I think it's more meant as a maintenance mechanism that if for example, the basin gets backed up and it start 10, 15 years from now, it doesn't drain as well as it does right now. They can go open the valve up and let it drain out, and then clean it up and fix it if there is maintenance that needs to be done. I believe that's the intent. Okay.
And I just have a question, I guess is it preferable that we know whether or not it's a rental or a condo project ahead of time? And I'm surprised
Not an
planning
unusual
or
question.
that didn't question that.
I'm sorry?
I'm surprised planning
they
didn't
did.
question that.
No, that was all part of the review. And I believe there's a condition within the special permit that if it is a homeowners association, we have to provide all that documentation to the planning department along the way. Yeah, that's all. It's all because of the fact that these types of projects are up in the air. And right now, the market is more driven towards a rental market than a condo market. But at some point in time, they are designed where they could be divided, or they could have condominium ownership change. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anything?
There's about 10 feet difference between the current highest elevation out at the street and the edge of the wetland, about 10-foot difference. Recently, we ran into a situation where, we were told that you could do it. Has any test wells been drilled to find a water table since the last time we saw it?
We have not done any additional testing on the property.
I know what that place looks like, and I know how level it is, and I know the body of water behind it. Mm-hmm. And we'd be disappointed, to say the least, if you're unable to build on that 654 highest elevation, and you had to bring in a mountain of fill to get it done. It would change the whole hydrology of the site.
So the grades that are on the plans, the post-development grades, those are already set. So that we're not planning on doing any additional grading aside from what's shown on the plan.
And I'm just bringing it to your attention that we'd be disappointed if additional fill came in to elevate those structures because you found that you were unable to have a dry cellar. Will there be full cellars?
There are full cellars, and there's foundation drains that are tied to perimeter drains that go down actually below or into the detention basin as well. So they're all tied out, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so,
And I believe there was testing on the property previously.
you recognize the wet year we've had.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And last
I
year
got
was
flooded
wetter than the year
I got
before
flooded at
as
both
well.
my office and my house.
Get it. You understand it, yeah. So if environmental conditions have changed, then the water table out there could change as well. And we haven't seen it. We haven't been out there in 2 years, I bet, 3 perhaps. No, just forewarned is forearmed. We're not really, if we're going to okay it, and we okayed it in the past, conditions change, wetlands change, and don't do something without.
Right, so I think what you're asking is that should the conditions change in the site and require a change to the site grading, that we come back to the commission.
If we were to issue an order of conditions, that would be one of the conditions.
Yep.
But it'd have to be followed to be of any value. It would have to be you would have to come back, and we'd encourage you to do that.
Right.
Okay? Thanks.
Anything? I had, is there a dewatering plan when you're doing the work? Do you have a dewatering plan or you don't
Well,
need one?
like I said, the plan is to not get into the groundwater at
Okay.
this point in time.
Okay, so you don't need to submit.
So, yeah. I mean, if there was water up in the upper end of the site, I think that we would have a bigger concern, but we're trying to build above the existing grades, even in the basin. The basin's, I think, at grade or maybe a little bit below, but based upon the test pits that were done previously, that's what we're running with.
And you said Nick Erickson's on Zoom. He's joining us remotely.
Yes, I am on the Zoom tonight.
Hi, Nick. Have you reviewed this?
I have not. I'll be upfront with the commission. I've got 3 vacancies out of 4 in engineering. Jeff Hillman's moved on to a new role as the superintendent of streets. And I don't have staff to review these, and we haven't reviewed any of the submittals that are being discussed tonight.
Okay.
Nick, if I may just jump in, this is the same submittal that was approved by the planning board a couple months ago. So nothing's changed on our submittal. All we're doing is updating the commission with what was already approved by the planning board, which I believe you did have full review of.
Got it. Yeah, Jeff did look at this one during the planning board phase a couple months ago. Then you're correct, Mr. Hannigan. Now this is a similar design to something Whitman and Bingham had done previously. Was that the same lot, and this is a redesign of that? Yeah,
basically we held the Whitman and Bingham layout for the drainage. We changed the buildings and the paving and then adjusted the drainage calculations. So this is the same design that they had done, except we're adding a better outfall condition, we believe, and we're accounting for foundation drains being discharged into the basin.
Okay.
We've also, at the request of the water department, we're increasing the water main or installing a new water main from 5th Mass Turnpike to the property, as well as providing a binder coat to, I think it's 22 feet wide along Old Princeton Road, which was approved by your department and the planning board during that process.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Do we, Nick? Is there any? I mean, do you want to review this, Nick, or?
I'm comfortable with moving forward with it since it's been reviewed by Jeff during the planning board phase.
Okay. Thank you, Nick. Can we have a motion? Do you want to?
Motion to approve the amended order of condition for lot 122 Old Princeton
Point of
Road.
order, Madam Chair, we closed the hearing first.
Pardon me.
We closed the hearing.
Hearing no more from the commission and the public, the chair closes the hearing for notice of intent. Final Touch Contractor Incorporated, 122 Old Princeton Road.
Thank you.
Motion to issue an order of conditions on the amended, accept the amended order of conditions.
Do you have any special conditions that you want on this?
The same conditions that we previously placed on, surely that they, and I suspect that they do include any changes to the plan as submitted will come before the Conservation Commission before those changes take place. It's probably standard language.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a second. I'll call the roll. Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantanarawat?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarfield, aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Hannigan.
Would you entertain a question, Bill? The plan says a planned unit development. When did the planned unit development in Fitchburg not include a commercial component?
That's a good question. I don't know.
What was the question, Mike?
It was previously
It's a
done that way.
PUD. Yeah, and I thought one of the conditions of a PUD was an element of
I don't believe
commercial.
so.
Okay.
I don't believe so. No.
Thank you, Mr. Hannigan. Okay. Moving forward, under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 13, Section 40, the Fitchburg Conservation Commission will open the hearing for notice of intent, Oak Hill Country Club Solar, LLC, Oak Hill Country Club, Shea Street. And this was,
Madam Chair, I have our agent's notes, and Ms. Jamie said that they have requested a continuance. The peer review has been completed. They're waiting for the report and any revision to the plans.
okay, can we have a,
So motion to continue to, it's February 7th is our next meeting.
Seconded.
I'll call the roll. Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantanarawat?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarfield, aye. So continued until the February 7th, 2024 meeting. All right. Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 13, Section 40, the Fitchburg Conservation Commission will open the hearing for notice of intent, City of Leominster, water main replacement, Cross Country, Maine. Do we have anyone here to speak about that?
Madam Chair, as an update, they appeared before us at the last meeting and presented their plan. At the time, Mass DEP had not issued their number. DEP now has issued a number, and we are ready to move forward with a motion, so if anybody's prepared to do that. And notes from our agent say that we are ready to move forward. She has no other questions.
Okay, so let's open the floor for public comment. Would anyone like to speak in favor of or against this, or would request more information? Please state your name and address for the record. Hearing none from the public, can we get a motion to continue?
Actually, it would be a motion to approve an order of conditions with just our standard order of conditions. At the time, we didn't
Yes,
have
thank
any
you.
special.
Motion to approve.
If that's a motion, I'd second it.
Yep.
I'll call the roll. Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantanarawat?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarfield, aye. The motion passes. Let's see, motion passes. City of Leominster water main replacement, cross-country main. All right, checking them off here. All right. Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 13, Section 40, the Fitchburg Conservation Commission will open the hearing for notice of intent, Aaron Sepola, resubmittal, construction of single-family home, 182 Sheldon Road, continued from December 6th meeting. Do we have someone to speak to this? Is there
I
some-
have an update.
Okay.
At this time, from our last meeting, we were scheduled to have the council requested a peer review. Our notes from Conservation Agent Jamie are, they have selected an engineering firm, Ecotech, for the peer review, and they are waiting for a proposal to present to 182 Sheldon. So that will be continued into February. Motion to continue to the February meeting?
Second?
Second? Okay. I'll call the roll. Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantinarwat?
Aye.
Commissioner Satterfield, aye. So motion to continue to
Just
the February meeting?
A comment on that. I was surprised to find just ahead of the Christmas vacation, a Christmas party being held at 182 Sheldon Road. That would indicate that the house was probably sold, but it had an occupancy permit. And it's rather odd that we'll be dealing with a notice of intent and the structure is occupied. It was issued an occupancy permit. I don't expect the building inspector to be on. I don't see him, but we really have to be clear to them about issuing occupancy permits prior to the Conservation Commission's order of conditions being met, because it hasn't been. It's just being filed, and the place is occupied. It's cart's getting before the horse.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So moving forward, under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 13, Section 40, the Fitchburg Conservation Commission will open the hearing for...
Madam Chair, if I can interrupt at this point, if we're moving on to 196 Sheldon, it is recommended by Mass DEP and the Wetlands Act that since we do not have a complete notice of intent filing, we do not have signatures on file for this notice of intent from the current property owners, that we should not open a hearing.
Okay,
So we'll move on to our next item.
Is there any public comment on those two, or no?
we continued them both. Do you, yes.
I just wanted to make a statement about
Please, oh, yes, of course. So we'll
Good
put
evening.
this in, yeah, this is...
My name is Mike Kuchar. I live at 528 Sheldon Road. And I know it's really wasn't on you guys, but I'm very disappointed in whatever board or commission approved this whole development of these two houses, one like a foot away from each other, one in the back, one in the front. I know it's too late. Both houses are occupied, both houses are sold, so I don't know what any intents or anything you can do, you know, find a developer or whatever. And I'm speaking for my neighbor who lives across the street. He spoke to you guys last meeting, who has the water situation. And I don't know if they're going to do anything or if you guys can have somebody do something on that. But with all the fill that they brought in, that's where all the water is coming across the street. And I just wanted to say, like I said, I just wanted to voice my disappointment, get it on the record that this happened, where everybody's always looking for developers to keep the aesthetics of the neighborhood, and this just went totally sideways from the aesthetics of our neighborhood up there. And I know there's a lot of development, but most of the houses before this that were developed on the Daigle property are all acre and a half away from each other, different styles. These two seem like they're stuck into a acre, both of them together. So I just wanted to make that comment so it's on the record and you know. And I know it's, and I've heard Commissioner Donnelly say this before, it is a lot easier to ask for forgiveness than to seek permission. And developers sometimes don't care and they slip a lot of things in. Somehow it got approved, and you're right about the occupancy. I don't know how that got in, but we driving down here tonight, I could tell that both of them are sold and both of them are occupied. Thank you.
Madam Chair, so we went on a site visit with Joyce and her and our agent and myself in early December, and then in mid-December, I believe it was December 18th, I went up and took pictures, and it was Mr. Dufour, I believe is his neighbor, that spoke about the water coming across the street. In early December, it wasn't there. I've given pictures. I don't know if if Commissioner Jacobs has them, but the water comes all the way across the street. You can see it sloping off the front lawn. So what our agent and we went there looking for, we didn't find in early December, but we certainly did find it in mid-December. And I have pictures to support that. So I didn't know if tonight was the night to discuss that or wait till Ecotech comes back with their findings. But what Mr. Dufour pointed out is certainly the case.
I might remind the commission that we were told by the applicant that they would look into it when I brought up the drainage issue that last meeting, that while the drainage was designed to go right to left or to the rear, it in fact was coming forward and causing the flooding. And it was stated to me by the applicant that they would look into it. We're 30 days later. I don't know whether he's looked into it. If we can discuss the topic brought up about two houses sandwiched in. Nobody up there likes it. I don't particularly like it. I know that it's a zoning issue. If the law allows them to do it, then they can do it. And if you don't like it, then it's time to change that. All right? So you go to planning or zoning, you go to the zoning but the zoning rules, and you change them. And it's too late to do it there. But let's not let it happen again. So if you do feel strongly about it, and there is nothing we can do because it's legal to do in Fitchburg, change the rules so that it can't happen again. That's a challenge to you, Mike, or to Mark, or to anybody who didn't like what's going on up there. And I guess I could do it as well, but you've got more skin in the game. Okay? Change the rules, because the rules allowed them to do it. And we make the rules, right? We made the rules and it allowed it. Change them, tweak them a bit so it doesn't happen again.
Okay. So we're not going to be opening the next one. Now we're at City of Fitchburg. Here we go. Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 13, Section 40, the Fitchburg Conservation Commission will open the hearing for notice of intent. City of Fitchburg, combined sewer overflow 032045083, separation rehabilitation project.
Madam Chair, the DEP number was just issued at 3 p.m. This afternoon. I know their comments were posted, and Mr. Erickson has, I'm sure, will tell us he's not had a chance to review those. So, Mr. Erickson, preferably continue this to next month?
That's correct. We'd respectfully request a continuance to next month so that we can prepare a formal response to DEP's comments and make sure that everyone has a chance to review that response prior to the meeting.
So motion to continue this item to the February 7th, 2023. Oh.
I'll second that with a comment. I just wanted to thank them. I requested a personal tour of a portion of the separation up at Burbank Hospital in Drapanos Drive, and I got it yesterday, day before, and I appreciate them. Nick, I appreciate you following up on it, and the boys that came out and gave me a first-hand look at what's going on up there. Thank you. I second the motion to continue it.
You're very welcome.
So we have a motion and a second to continue to the February 7 meeting. Commissioner Christian,
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs,
Aye.
Commissioner Tantinarowat,
Aye.
Chair, aye. So continue to the next meeting. Thank you. Okay. So next we have,
Madam Chair, on this one, again, also from Agent Jamie's notes, 299 Lunenburg Street has requested a continuance. Oh, okay, nope, never mind, we do have someone here.
okay. Let me open, I have an open.
So then
meeting.
we'll open the hearing.
Let me open the hearing. Under
Okay.
Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 13, Section 40, the Fitchburg Conservation Commission will open the hearing for notice of intent, Robert Lamoureux Outdoor Recreational Facility, 299 Lunenburg Street. Please speak to the notice.
If I can do this. Oh,
and,
yes, I'll take these, thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Speaking to the notice, we have
Yes, good evening. For the record, Justin LeClaire, McCarty Engineering, here tonight with the owner, Robert Lamoureux, for 299 Lunenburg Street. While Commissioner Jacobs tries to get the plans up, I'll just speak to the site briefly. So the address is 299 Lunenburg Street. This is located directly across from Ron Bouchard's. It's the former site of the Thunderbird Motor Lodge. And if some of the members that were on the commission last year remember, we were in front of you for a proposed self-storage facility, which you had approved last year. After some discussion with my client and reevaluating the approved project, we found that it wasn't the best idea or use of the land. So between a few months of market analysis, figuring out different types of projects that could go there, we came up with the idea of an outdoor recreational facility, which would be a mix of an 18-hole, fully ADA-compliant mini golf course, as well as a separate recreational facility with a pavilion that could be a community congregation area for people that are partaking in the mini golf facility. This plan was brought in front of the planning board, and at the last meeting, we did receive plan board approval for this. Any luck? Or?
No.
Okay. No worries. So, I just want to see if I can. Does the commission have copies in front of them that they can follow along with?
Yeah, I think everybody should have their paper copies, or Sean and I have it on our computer. We just can't get it up on the screen.
No worries. So, as I stated before, if you remember, the Thunderbird Motor Lodge was located at this facility and was demoed back in 2005. Since then, it's remained vacant. As part of this project, we're proposing to pulverize the existing pavement as shown on the site plan within the limits of the proposed parking field and repave that specific area. In addition, where the existing mound of material is, we're proposing to remove any pavement within that area, and that'd be the construction of the 18-hole mini golf course, as well as 1,000. Awesome. So, you can see the 18-hole mini golf course on the right-hand side there. That is a more natural-looking miniature golf course. It will have a variety of trees, shrubs, perennials, and different types of plantings throughout it. The rectangle building towards the bottom there that has the hatch in it is 1,000 square foot operating building. This will be where people can pay to play mini golf. This will also serve ice cream as well as beer as part of the outdoor recreation facility right above it, where there's a proposed pavilion. There'll be areas for, yep, the pavilion is right there. To the right, there's kind of a turf area where you'd have, say, cornhole, any outdoor games like that. Where you see the proposed parking field on the left-hand side, yep, there, and if you scroll down, there's another one that runs across the front. That's where we're proposing to pulverize the existing pavement, which out there is in poor condition, and we'll repave and stripe those areas. This project is resulting in a net decrease of approximately 25,000 square feet from when the Thunderbird Lodge was there. We took the same thought process and philosophy that we brought in front of you when we were permitting the self-storage. We looked at the existing condition as the Thunderbird compared to what today is. So we are still a net reduction. It's about 25,000 square feet of impervious. 20,000 of that is located within the riverfront area. As a result, we are improving the stormwater quality on site by reducing that impervious and replacing it with pervious material, whether it be some sort of stone, grass within the mini golf area. We're providing natural recharge to the groundwater, which under the WPA regulations for work within previously degraded riverfront, that's one way that we're showing we're bettering the existing condition. We did receive comments from DEP as well as our DEP file number. Their comment was pertaining to if we had looked at any LID features, any additional treatment that we could do on site. We did look at it, and some of the examples that they had offered were infiltration trenches, vegetated filter strips, things of that nature where we can provide a little bit more volume, we can reduce peak flows, which, again, by reducing the impervious on site, we are reducing these peak flows. And if there's anything else that we could do. We did look at this, and the issue is the site is located within floodplain. Pretty much where the proposed mini golf facility and the outdoor recreational area are proposed is outside the floodplain. The parking lot, both the one on the front and the one on the side, are located within the floodplain. I don't know if you can zoom in just a little bit so you guys have an idea.
Where do you want to see, Justin?
Yep, a little bit to your left. See where the 24 dimension is? Yep. So that line there where it's a line, a dot, and there's the letter F, that's the limit of the floodplain. So it pretty much
right here.
encompasses the mound. So with that, we're not altering the grades drastically. We are still providing the floodplain storage that's required. But any attempt to infiltrate, provide detention, and mitigate and provide volume, you're typically not allowed to do it within floodplain. And the problem is that you would get some relief of you'd get some mitigation of stormwater during the low, like the 2 to 10-year storm events, but during those higher ones, those basins and infiltration trenches would flood with water because it's located within the floodplain. So you're not getting the full treatment that DEP is looking for. And we did look at that. So our reasoning is we're having a major reduction of impervious. We're providing natural recharge to groundwater. So we feel that we can adequately address DEP's concern. I know during the planning board process, engineering did review it. They did have a question regarding stormwater. We did provide them a drainage letter stating how we're meeting the stormwater standards to maximum extent practical for a redevelopment project. And I believe they were satisfied, but I'll let Mr. Erickson speak to that. With all that information, if the commission has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McClare. Let's open the floor for public comment. Would anyone like to speak in favor of or against this hearing, or would like to request more information? Please come on up and state your name and address for the record.
Just one question. The existing building that's there now, will that be demolished?
So there's no, the existing building is, yep, there you go.
Yep,
So
here.
if you come down a little bit, so that's actually off property.
Okay.
This is the big vacant lot with the giant mound of material.
Okay.
That's where we're proposing this.
Okay, so that would stay.
That sadly, that building's
Yep.
staying.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's not our property.
Hearing no more from the public, let's turn to the commission.
Justin, real quick, do you have the DEP number? Because I don't want to get out of this screen to go look for it.
Please don't. I have it right here. So the DEP number is CE 155-0741.
Okay, thank you.
Same thing. That was issued about the same time.
About
as the-
3, 4 o'clock this afternoon,
Yep.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Donnelly?
I was sufficiently entertained at the planning board meeting the other night when they approved this project, but I've come up with two questions. One, the 25,000 square foot figure about reduction in impervious surface, is that current condition or former condition?
Former. So back from '05. That was when we did this the first time with the self-storage.
Is that fair?
Yes. The
Okay,
reason,
so, all right, let me ask you a question. You answered that question. On the east side, where you're going to put your parking, is that currently paved?
yes.
Okay.
So-
That's fine. You're going to repave. You're going to repave it, and out front. And you can't meet, logistically, you can't meet DEP's recommendation of additional floodplain storage. Logistically.
So not floodplain storage. We are providing the adequate floodplain storage. Their comments pertaining to stormwater quality.
Okay.
So LIDs, BMPs, things of that nature. And the example is the infiltration trenches that you can see on the side of parking lots. The issue here is where that parking lot is, it's technically within the floodplain. So if you dig out and put in an infiltration trench, you are providing some additional floodplain storage, but during the high rain events, the water is supposed to fill up within that storage, so that LID feature that you're putting in will become useless because it's already going to be filled.
I get it. Okay, so now let's look at the west side of the lot. And this came up, I brought it up in the previous plan, the previous use. On the westerly side of your project, you own the land to the brook and across the brook. That's paved. Is it reasonable to request that you remove the pavement to allow for infiltration on the westerly side,
So just so
beyond
that-
your development?
Yep. So just so we're clear, Mr. Donnelly, you're talking where the property line comes up and juts over to the right?
The entire right side of your project plan. The entire, there you go.
Yep.
That whole right side of that project plan is paved, and you're not using it. Could the pavement be removed? It would allow for additional infiltration.
Yes, so two reasons why we were not removing it. One was cost. Obviously, we're trying to stay within a budget. Where we're only putting a 1,000 square foot building on this property, we had a much smaller budget to work with to be able to make it financially feasible. The second thing is, it kind of goes back to the question that lady had, was whether or not that other building is going to be demolished. It should be. I hope someday it will. And ideally, we want to be able to utilize that area back there. And if we were to use that, I'm not sure if you're familiar with where that nightclub is. That's the building that is kind of vacant right now. It shares the same pavement as the area that you're talking about right now. It was actually parking for the Thunderbird. It actually has striped parking spots that go along there. So there would be an opportunity in the future if we needed additional parking, if parking became an issue, that there's actually paved area. We just didn't call it out right now because we thought we would be sufficient with the 72 spots. But there could be a time where we're wishing that that was still paved. And if we were to move forward, and if that property became available, which it becomes available every year. It just keeps switching hands and unfortunately stays vacant. We would hope that we could take that building out and actually be able to grow our facility. And again, we'd be utilizing that current paved area as parking because that property next door actually doesn't have any parking. I think a lot of the years when it was being used as nightclub, was actually using the property that we own for parking because there's literally no parking back there. We would actually be removing that.
Okay, I heard you. It's just a hint unsettling. Would we be discussing this, well, any elevations that you give us, any water issues, would we be discussing it if all of that fill had not raised your current lot 10 feet, 15 feet, all put in there without any oversight? We wouldn't even be discussing it. So here you have a buildable lot that was not, well, excuse me, it had far more constraints before that fill was illegally put in there on the city's dime, that city fill in there. We wouldn't even be discussing that. So I don't think it's a lot to ask, and I know it's costly. I know it is, but removing that pavement would better protect Baker Brook from the development that you propose. That's all. Yeah. Cost? I don't know. Taking out blacktop and having it recycled, and yeah, there's a cost associated with it, but formidable? Nah.
So you heard it during the planning board meeting. So we had a budget we had to work with. Obviously, we had a property that we moved forward with. We had to make a decision not to move forward. You understand the reasons why we had to, because of a neighboring property getting approved for the same thing. We had to be extremely careful, and we wanted to make sure where we spent the money was going to have the most value. And again, it was to make sure that it was the ADA, fully ADA compliant, and then the plantings. So we have a significant amount of trees, shrubs. So we could definitely take away from one of those two things, which I wouldn't want to, which would open up the budget to be able to remove pavement. So that would be an alternative, if we cut down the volume of the trees, shrubs, everything that we're putting in there. That would open it up. And again, it'd still be less than ideal because we're hoping to utilize that space. We're hoping to need that parking in the future because that means the business was successful.
So I would just like to add, I know Mr. Lamoureux gave you the business side of it. Speaking regarding the engineering, the regulations, that end of it, the original proposal to remove that pavement as part of the previous project was because we had more of an impact within the 200 and the 100 riverfront area. So to offset what we were proposing, we were removing the existing. Here we're not increasing the impervious area within that. So we would like to maintain that as existing for the fact that we're not adding anything. So we're maintaining an existing condition that's been there since '05. And in addition, to make the site better is to not encroach and not do any work closer than what's already there. So to remove that blacktop, to lay down loam and seed, to kind of get that graded right to do it, we're encroaching, and I think at that closest point is about 17 feet away from the brook, where our work is 40 feet or more. So we just don't want to further disturb riverfront area than we need to for the purpose of this project.
I get it. I think we both recognize you're trying to protect your interest, and I'm trying to protect our interest. Your interests are long-term, and our interests are long-term. And if we allow, I guess if we don't try to encumber that piece of land, it's like death by 1,000 cuts, because the next project's going to come, claim that that's parking for the adjoining property, and we'll be dealing with the 25,000 square foot of impervious surface. You'll be right. You'll be increasing or decreasing it based on it being there. I'm not trying to kill you. I'm just trying to get something from that dead space down there, because that's the closest to the brook and to flooding. It's significant to you. Let's back up for a minute. All the flooding that's taking place in people's cellars. You know, building department gets blamed for allowing someone to build a house and then their cellar floods. Why didn't you tell me? You shouldn't have issued me a building permit. That would go over big. All right? So if we allow it, we're complicit, and I don't want to go. I don't want to be.
So regarding the flooding, I know this corner here is a hot topic for it. During the, I believe, December 18th rain event, where most of the city was flooded out,
And all summer.
and for the summer with the heavy rains, this site remained dry.
It has. They cleaned up that section of the brook 5, 7, 10 years ago, and the only place it flooded is when the place they didn't fill was the plaza. They redirected Baker Brook around the plaza, and the brook said, I'm going straight, and that's where it flooded substantially. I get it. You guys have been saved until you're not saved. Yeah.
Well,
Not to shortchange this.
yes.
That's under a microscope right now, that whole floodplain of John Fitch Highway. So the way we've been doing things hasn't worked, and we have to think a little bit differently to your benefit. We got to think a little bit differently about how we're going to deal with water about all of John Fitch Highway. Yeah, so it worked this storm. Lucky you. That's it.
Do
Thank
any other
you.
commissioners? You're welcome, Commissioner Donnelly. Any other commissioners that had any questions? I wanted to ask if you could talk about the plantings, and this area. I've seen some outdoor recreation areas in other parts of the world where areas like this are built to allow for flooding. You know, people aren't going to be playing mini golf while the storm's going on. So then once that water subside, you can go back to what you're doing. So are your plantings going to be able to withstand that?
Yes, so we worked with Central Mass Nursery to make sure that we put the appropriate plantings in there. So there was a couple things we had to look for. Plantings that would fill up the space and make it still look natural, because it's a busy road. We didn't want to have a mini golf place that had windmills and caves, because it just wouldn't look right on that property. So we opted for something that was more natural looking. Plantings that would survive the harsh winters, so they had to be hardy, and then also that better suited for wet areas. As Justin mentioned, we don't really get flooding up in that area, and everything surrounding it is going to be pervious surface anyways. But we did make sure that, because it's a significant cost putting 54 trees and shrubs in there, we wanted to make sure that our investment's still going to be there 20 years from now. So we were very careful and thoughtful for the plants that we did choose in there. And besides those 54 trees and shrubs, we also have areas that you'll see on there that we're going to put annuals and perennials as well. So there's going to be well over 100 different plantings that we're going to be adding to this property. And if you drive by right now, you'll see that it's just been a vacant property for many years. If anything, the biggest challenge, to be completely transparent, is because it's vacant, just like any other vacant property, people just want to dump their trash there. So, I mean, I've owned the property for 14 months, so I wasn't there when that free fill came in. So again, that was I was very young at that point. But the 14 months I have owned this property, the one thing that I learned is if you have a vacant property like that, a target for people wanting to dump trash. So to be able to finally build something in that area, and again, we took everyone's ideas, opinions when we came before you and the planning board for the self-storage facility. Again, it got approved, but, the comments it wasn't I know I'm going a little off topic, it wasn't a property that brought people to the city of Fitchburg, because again, our target market is 3 miles. This is something that will actually target upwards of 25 miles. It's going to be bringing people to the city of Fitchburg. One of the main things was they didn't like the idea that a 27,000 square foot building would be put on this property. Well, it's a 135,000 square foot property, and financially, if we weren't putting this in there and somebody bought this property, they're probably going to put a big building in there. When the Thunderbird was knocked down, if you go back into the paper around that time, the plan was, Ron Bouchard's was going to put a 25,000 square foot building in there and pave to put parking lot. It was going to be part of the dealership. And again, we were going to put a 27,000 square foot facility with pavement going all the way around it. This allowed us to not change what the current pavement is, reduce some of the impervious surface that's there, and again, put a 1,000 square foot building in there. So again, that was our goal, is to, again, have less of an impact that, a self-storage facility was going to do, while checking off all the boxes that we had from, the various boards as well.
Oh, Madam Chair, to that point, in the previous order of condition that we had written the last time, there was a riverfront restoration area that was to be reestablished with native species for 2 growing seasons and all the seedlings. Is that still in this plan today?
So that was on the backside of the self-storage facility, away from any usable space. We talked about putting pollinators in there because that's what the board had recommended, because we were going to put grass, and the Conservation Commission said that they preferred not to have grass. They wanted to have pollinators. But that was also when we were putting a large building. We only, at that time, had 14 plantings total on the whole property that we're putting. So we're not going to be putting the pollinators just because we don't have that. We're going to be using up all that area. But in turn, we're putting far more plantings and trees and shrubs to offset that.
So how are you going to treat the riverfront area? Will there be any replanting done in that space?
We're not going to actually remove anything from that. We're not going as far back as what we were.
It's not.
Just hands off. It's simply hands off, and I wanted to put a little hands on, that's all.
Yeah, in the previous plan, we're going right up to the river, where we're not going to be doing that now.
So that area does not apply any longer in this plan versus the old one?
Completely different plan.
Okay.
I'd certainly like to see the use of native species when possible, because you don't want to introduce an invasive species into the brook there.
So I know when we sat down with Central Mass to kind of go over the plantings, that was the main thing, is to make sure we didn't introduce anything that would be invasive. So we, again, very thoughtful. We do have the whole schedule of plants in there. So we were making sure nothing was invasive, they fully understood what the property was, where it was. So again, we did consider all of that to make sure we put the appropriate plantings in.
Commissioner Erickson, is he still on the call?
Yes, I'm still on the call. So I actually talked to Justin about this project in particular, and we reviewed the drainage memo that was provided. So this project in particular isn't doing a whole lot as far as underground excavation work goes. There's already sewer and water on the site. There's no real foundation being installed. There's not a lot of the typical things that you would see with a larger development, like a shopping center or a self-storage facility. So we're trying to be sensitive to that with our review and our comments too, and not cause the applicant to need to do so much extra work above and beyond the scope so as to make the project not affordable. Because right now the site is a mix of an open gravel excavation and deteriorating pavement. And literally any improvement on the site is going to be an improvement over existing conditions. And I'd rather something go in the site than see it sit vacant, causing erosion, sedimentation in its current state for the next however many years until someone else comes along to buy it. So with that all being said, when we were reviewing the proposed plans, we noted that they're taking advantage of the existing stormwater system that's on site. So there's a few catch basins that collect runoff from the impervious surfaces, the parking areas for the former Thunderbird, and they tie into a Mass DOT owned drain line that runs through the site and then discharges to the brook behind the site. So because there's no major underground excavation work happening, and a lot of it is landscaping and surface level improvements for the mini golf course, we're satisfied with them reusing that existing stormwater system and rebuilding any collapsed basins that they find or piping issues that they come across. I would recommend that the stormwater system is CCTV inspected just to make sure that it's working properly prior to any completion of the project. And then I think what else, the plantings that have been provided are more than adequate, and I would hope to see eventually this use expand into the property next door, see that old nightclub building come down, et cetera. So that's kind of how we looked at the review. It's a redevelopment site, so the stormwater standards apply to the maximum extent practical. And I think it would be very impractical to require much above and beyond what's already being included in the current design. And as I stated, I'd hate to make this financially unfeasible for the applicant and then see nothing go in there, because the site right now is a massive open gravel excavation that's continuing to wash into the brook.
Thank you, Commissioner Erickson. Any more comments?
Motion to accept the plan is submitted with a comment. I don't understand how there's 25,000 square feet less impervious surface under existing conditions.
The chair's going to, let me close the hearing first. And now we have a motion on the table.
Madam Chair, if I could clarify what is going to be open on the floor for a motion. Now that we have a DEP number, it is 1550741. The plan being reviewed is that dated November 30th, revised 12/13/23. On the floor would be possibility for our standard conditions with an additional special condition that a stormwater system be CCTV inspected and reported back to engineering. Open for a motion on the floor.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All right, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantinarewat?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarfield, aye. The motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Madam Chair, before we move on, if you give me 1 minute to try and get an item up on the screen.
Yes.
Okay. And at this time, before you move on to the next item, then there is a plan on the screen in place. And as an abutter to this next project, I will recuse myself from this discussion as a commissioner as I step away.
Noted that Commissioner Jacobs has recused themselves. Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 13, Section 40, the Fitchburg Conservation Commission will open the hearing for notice of intent, Mad River Solar Holdings, LLC, ground-mounted solar array, 0 Ashburnham Street. Do we have anyone here speaking?
They're going to share their screen. I just want to get Daniel to be able to do that.
just wait for the tech to catch up, that's all.
Who needs the permission for, are you?
What's the name?
Matt Bombasi. I just raised my hand.
Matt, you're good?
Oh, I just stopped for it. Yeah. Okay, the screen is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. My name is Becky Coase. I'm with Convergent Energy and Power. Excuse me. The Commission had previously issued an order of conditions for this project, so you should be familiar with it. But Convergent, the company that I work for, has since purchased the project from the previous developer and applicant. We purchased the project in September, this past September. So that's why we're before you with a new NOI. Since purchasing the project, we've been working with our engineers and our contractor, who have representatives here this evening, to do the detailed design and make some improvements to the overall plan. We've improved the basins. We've expanded the previously proposed stormwater basins, added some grass swales and conveyance systems, and culverts, as well as reduced the overall fenced-in area of the solar array, reducing the amount of clearing that's necessary. Matt and Josh will go into the details of that, but just wanted to give you an introduction and let you know where the project is at this point, and that we're the current owner and looking to work with all the stakeholders and make sure the project, is satisfactory to everyone here this evening.
Great. Quickly, my name's Josh Farkas. I work for Professional Electrical Contractors, PEC. We're a design-build EPC firm based in Canton, and we focus on renewable energy construction. The one thing I wanted to try to stress, just with the moment we have here at the beginning of the presentation, is that we are the ownership group at Convergent and the construction group that actually will be owning this project.
And operating.
And operating the system. So long-term operation of the system. My company will be providing a warranty for the installation of it, and Becky's company will be the one fielding any phone calls in the future. I know we talk about stormwater a lot. That's been a big focus of our engineering effort. And I think, high level, one of the things we really wanted to accomplish was try to make the point in front of you all this evening and in some upcoming hearings most likely, that we're trying to advance a set of development drawings to a construction level set of drawings that an owner and a builder can really stand behind as the real asset is there for years to come. So we're not developers trying to do high level plans. We're really focusing on the construction means and methods, and we're super focused on stormwater. So I'll let Matt Bombasi from Bowler Engineering sort of walk us through the project, but that was just the initial introduction.
Cool. Good evening. For the record, Matt Bombasi with Bowler Engineering. We were brought on as civil engineers by PEC as they developed their project. They were given, the base project, which is previously approved, and brought us in to advance it and also look for ways to improvement, as Josh mentioned. So as this project goes, we were given the previous plans. We used those as kind of our base, but we did, as part of Josh's structural and electrical design and our civil design, look for ways to improve it, and we were given some of the history of the project. I know there's a little bit of a slightly checkered history, so looking at some of those concerns that were brought up and addressing those. First and foremost, the first thing we did as part of the project was reduce the overall solar area. So looking at this exhibit here, the blue area, which is basically the entire outer area here, is the previously approved project taken right off the approved plans. The yellow highlights are the new solar array areas. So there's about 2 acres of solar area that was previously proposed that's no longer proposed. That's primarily up here in the the northeast corner of the project, but also over here along the west side. That was requested by the planning board recently, so we provide a little bit more buffer to our residents, and then in various areas throughout the solar array. So overall, a little over a 2-acre reduction in solar array needed, full stumping, clearing, things like that. The other thing we did is we ran a whole new set of drainage calcs. The drainage calcs as part of the previous project were designed, reviewed by the commission, peer-reviewed, and brought back, but we were asked to take a fresh look at it. And while they did meet engineering standards, we did identify a few different things we could do to do a little bit more conservative or better analysis of the project. First and foremost, the previous analysis really only considered the project property boundaries as their limit of watershed analysis, where we wanted to consider any area that might be draining through our solar array, getting collected by our basins, or through our swales as part of our analysis. So we included a very large watershed north of the property, basically to the top of the hill, as part of our analysis, and anything that would drain through the solar field. Secondly, the old drainage analysis did use the old technical TP40 rainfall data, which is a little archived. I think that's technically the jurisdictional data, but often we'll use the extreme rainfall data, which is in the 2,500-year storms a lot more. Cornell University publishes it, and NOAA also has a version of it, but typically you'll see, instead of a 6.5-inch 100-year storm, it's more like an 8-inch 100-year storm, which I think is kind of what we've seen based on recent experience for rainfall events. So we use that as well. With those two pieces of data, we did end up requiring a little bit larger basins, so we kept the basins generally in the same location, but enlarged and reconfigured. It's about 126% more storage than the previous design, and that's largely based on just a little bit more conservative and better analysis. We also did take a look at the basin elevations. PEC folks had gone out and done some soil testing for ledge and groundwater. We felt the basins were a little low, so we picked up the bottom of the basins, again, not reducing the volume, increasing it, but getting the bottom of the basin above where we expect groundwater to be, so it'll allow for better draining in between storms, better infiltration, things like that. Lastly, the thing we looked at, particularly relative to reviewing some of the restoration reports we saw and some of the drainage concerns of the abutters directly behind the array, was look at the drainage patterns as a whole and how we're routing things. So under existing conditions, a lot of the runoff drains through these on-site wetlands and on-site, and then ultimately to a culvert which goes under the road. Part of the site actually drains through here, through these abutters along Ashburnham Street, and then out into the road, and then down the gutter line into the culvert. The previous plans actually proposed this basin to have a piped outlet, piped directly out this way to the residential bunchers, which we flagged as a big red flag. We didn't want to propose that because we just saw it as a big concern to pipe water right out to the residential abutters. So we proposed a series of swales and conveyances with check dams throughout the site to collect water that might discharge over the gravel drive and down the gravel driveway, water that might come through this way and down here, and then also the outlet for this basin, a series of swales down the south side, down here, and then into that culvert. So instead of letting water do what it wants, at least as far as the area of the solar array, collect it, manage it, slow it down, treat it, and get it to where we want it to go on site rather than through abutting properties. Happy to answer get into more detail, get into any questions, but that's a high-level view of some of the changes we've made.
Thank you, Mr. Bombesi. Did I say that?
Close enough.
Sorry. Thank you. Let's open the floor for public comment. Would anyone like to speak in favor of or against this hearing, or would like to request more information? Please state your name and address for the record. Is there anyone here that would like to talk about this? Councillor Kuchar.
Thank you very much. Andrew Kuchar, Ward 3 City Councilor, 64 Farmer Ave. I am not in a butter, but I am the representative of Ward 3. And considering the disaster that this project has been going forward, I'm happy to see that you're cutting back. But we still have a lot of worries in regards to water. As it currently stands, we have quite a bit of water that is currently already spilling out onto Ashburnham Street. I understand you're going to be doing, improvements and swales and hopefully being able to divert that water away from it being a public hazard, because now that we're in winter, you're going to have this water going out onto Ashburnham Street, freezing, causing, traffic issues. In addition, my residents on Stickney Road, where they were told that there would be a buffer zone. Well, the people prior to you cut into the buffer zone and into that project. Do you have any remediation for that violation going forward? Do you plan on putting up trees? What?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want us to speak through the board, but yes, if we may.
Yes, please.
Yes, there's a previously approved restoration plan from the prior incidents that includes a whole bunch of screening that's been through. It wasn't here, so I'm not going to speak to tons of details, but it's been through the boards and approved, and it's part of the restoration plan that needs to be completed as part of the project. Well, it's actually slightly independent of the project, but they both need to get done. The restoration plan for what happened in the project area and outside those limits, that has to be taken care of, and that's part of the plan.
And I would go ahead.
The initial efforts have started, but obviously winter you can't plant during it. So our intent is to continue that through the next growing season to ensure that restoration work is 100% complete.
Okay. I would also request the Conservation Commission consider having a third-party review of this project done. Considering the issues that this project has been, I'm glad to see that we have new people on the project, but my residents as well as myself, we're extremely gun shy when it comes to this, considering what we're going through up on Shea Street. So I would ask the Conservation Commission to consider a third-party review of this project before approving anything. So I thank you for your time, and I thank you guys for what you do.
Thank you, Councillor Kuchar.
Good evening, Joyce Jacobs, and I'd like to say for the record, it's 778 Ashburnham Street. I am an abutter to this project, but I'm here speaking on behalf of myself, my neighbors, and not as a commission member. This project has been discussed before many boards and commissions for years now. Opposition to the project itself has been minimal, but it's always been about the water and the conditions on the site. The runoff from this site is the biggest concern. Disruptions from unplanned logging operation have confirmed those concerns, as we're now seeing much more water coming off the hill. To that end, I have two comments I'd like to make. I would ask that the commission consider, as just to reiterate Councillor Kuchar's comment, that we have an outside review of what's now being called a drainage report, basically the stormwater management plan. Ty and Bond did the original stormwater management review in 2019. They are familiar with the site, so if acceptable, they may be the engineer that would be acceptable to have review of this plan, and also guarantee that the plan is being reviewed back to the site conditions of 2019, not today, because that is how we started out prior to the logging operation. So that is a consideration that I would ask the commission take. My second point is also in the residential buffer. And while drainage basins and swales are traditional stormwater management tools, I would ask that the commission consider requiring that this plan be modified to include within the residential buffer a green infrastructure element, a plan to assist in stormwater management and control runoff. This natural infrastructure would consist of planting trees, shrubs, bushes, native grasses, wildflowers, and ground covers, and be a natural-based solution to runoff mitigation. This is quickly becoming recommended best management practices for new projects. FEMA and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers are actively promoting the use of a biodiverse stormwater management solution. There are residential buffer restoration plans, as you noted, that have been previously in place, and these plans can be modified to now meet what is considered a natural-based infrastructure solution. That would be a cost-effective way for the applicant to comply both with zoning and Conservation Commission regulations. While the visual impact of this project is regulated by zoning, the green infrastructure component of a stormwater management plan would be jurisdictional to the Conservation Commission. And Madam Chair and Commissioners, thank you very much for your time.
Do we have any other members of the public that would like to speak at this time?
Sure. I'm on Zoom. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm Catherine Haas. I live at 680 Ashburnham Street. So I live south of this project down the hill. I'm where the drainage is set to go off onto Ashburnham Street on your drawing. I'm the second lot down to the right. That one. Yep. And so I, along with my neighbor directly further down the hill, down the right to me, are the two that have been experiencing incredible amounts of water runoff onto our properties and into our homes. This has been a 2-year hassle that we've all been sort of dealing with. And I also want to appreciate the fact that there are new people on this project, because I feel as though to this point, our concerns have not been heard. Or very, very minimal actions have been taken in order to make tangible difference to the experience that we're having here. For example, I know on my property, we're having incredible erosion. The water comes down. Last winter, it was so bad that when it froze over, you could see the ripples from like the current of the water coming down off of the hill. And with winter coming, it's the melting of the snow that was particularly bad last year, and I'm expecting to be particularly bad again this year. And it's very scary, I guess, to go into another winter having had very minimal changes made up on the hill in order to protect our properties. So that's my overall comment. I'm glad to hear that there is some extended stormwater drainage planning going into this new site project, but I feel like it's taken us a long time to get from promises made at these meetings to actual tangible effects that can help us as these sort of lowly abutters that have had no ability to help ourselves. So I also will co-sign Joyce and Representative Kuchar's comments about having a third party come in to take a look and make sure that the amount of stormwater that's being anticipated is an accurate depiction of the stormwater we've been experiencing over the last 2 years.
Thank you, Ms. Haas. Deborah Garcia.
Hi. Yes, this is Deborah Garcia. I am also on this Zoom call. Excuse me. I am at 660 Ashburnham Street. I am next door to Kate, and Joyce lives up the street from me as well. We purchased our home at the end of August of 2022, and as much of the weather, the rain, the backwash, it has been incredible. Intrusion into our basement in our home. We now have a small stream at the bottom of one of my walls. My stone walls are eroding. We had to literally dig a trench to the upper, when you're facing my home, the upper left side for the water, because it was draining all into my backyard. My backyard was becoming a swamp, and now the drainage is coming down so quickly, again, just like with Kate, what Kate is experiencing, down the wall, down the hill, into the street. This past rainstorm that we had mud accumulating at the front of our driveway. The drainage, we had to call the city to come and unclog the drains so that the water could pass by. The speed limit in front of our house is 45 miles an hour. Of course, the cars go faster than that, and you can't tell me they're not. But they do, and they were coming so quickly, I was afraid of an accident happening because of, you couldn't even see where the road ended. And we have big trenches in front of our house because of the erosion from the water. And we're still experiencing that happening. Even though some of the work that they have done has helped, it hasn't helped enough. And now, I mean, I don't know, because this stream is coming up from underneath our property through my driveway, which if it's not rectified is going to cause erosion into my driveway, which will cost me money if it's not fixed. And I would like confirmation that these issues are going to be resolved. And again, I also would like to have a third-party interest involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Commissioner Erickson?
Thank you very much. So I do want to say that I'm happy to see that Bowler is using the Cornell precipitation data versus the TP40 data that was used in the previous analysis. Cornell data does tend to be more conservative with greater rainfall depths, so it's good to see that change. NOAA's Atlas 14 precipitation data set is equally as conservative and tends to be more so for the smaller storms and less so for the larger storms. So that's one thing just to consider. I'm not sure in analyzing this with the NOAA Atlas 14 rainfall data would produce any appreciable differences, so I'm not suggesting a separate analysis, but either way, I think this is an improvement over the previous runoff analysis that was done. One thing that was brought to my attention by actually the former DPW Commissioner Lenny Laxo is that when he was reviewing the drainage analysis, he noticed that the solar panels themselves weren't included as impervious area. And that's fairly typical from what we've seen in the state of Massachusetts and in Fitchburg. A lot of engineering analyses do not include these solar panels as impervious area, but they are in a sense. And he actually pointed out that the state of Minnesota has a guidance document that kind of goes over how best to calculate runoff from solar farms such as this. And they do include the solar panels as impervious area, but they provide some credit for the pervious area underneath them. And I think that's actually a really good approach to better model the stormwater runoff from a solar field such as this. And this is a comment that I've had for every solar development that I've reviewed, and every engineering company that I've dealt with has kind of poo-pooed that recommendation. So I would advise that the analysis be conducted using that approach instead of the approach that Buller's used here. And that's going to produce a more conservative stormwater design. My other suggestion would be that if the commission desires to potentially include some sort of a performance bond requirement, so that if this project goes to construction and there are problems still lingering after the construction work is done, then there's some way for the city to fix the problem.
Thank you, Commissioner Erickson. Okay. Do we have any comments from the commission?
Sure. Could I ask you who the primary landowner is?
The primary landowner, we're leasing the land from the existing landowner who
Which is who?
do you remember his name?
I have not met him or them.
I apologize. I can get
And I'm only asking because I have 2 pages in 4 years of landowner, name changes, business changes.
Yeah.
Again, it appears to be smoke and mirrors. I can't believe you're investing this and you don't know who the landowner is.
I personally just forget his name. I apologize.
Okay.
Yeah.
And next, I would like to say we certainly should have a third-party review. I don't know if Mr. Erickson suggests we use Ty and Bond, and it should be by the 2019 baseline. But as a whole, we need to have deadlines. This has been 4 years, and I was over there on December 19th. You couldn't park on the side of the road. The water was rushing down. It was pretty bad. I was unable to take pictures. We need to have timelines. The water part needs to stop immediately. Whether or not you guys get your solar fields in, I don't care about that, but the water problem needs to stop.
Our intent is to start construction this spring, and the sequence of construction will be to install all the stormwater management measures first, so that, if that gives you any level of comfort. But our intent is to certainly start this spring, assuming that we get all of our approvals.
So we could make it as I would like to make a motion that we have a third-party review.
Okay. We're not
Second
there yet,
that.
right yet? Okay.
Unless Mr. Erickson has a different company. I know Ty and Bond has done it in the past, and I would like it to be with the 2019 baseline.
Okay.
I would agree with the third-party review. Ty and Bond, Weston and Sampson, Fuss and O'Neill, any of those companies would be good candidates for this. But just for the sake of consistency, might be a good idea to have whomever is conducting the third-party review for the Oak Hill solar project to also perform this one, just so there's some consistency between the city's decisions for both of these large-scale solar developments happening in the city.
And that is paid for by the solar company.
Yeah, I believe that is paid for by the applicant.
Okay, we
Correct.
have a motion on the table.
That's for that single issue, sure, I'd second that issue. We're still in a discussion phase about the project, yeah. Happy to second that motion on a third-party review, if we're there, yeah.
Are we there?
I don't know, we have discussion on the project? Continue?
okay.
We'll continue
Okay,
after
yes.
this, or?
Well, we have a motion on the table, so.
And I seconded it?
You second it. Let's vote on that then. To the motion for the third-party review, Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donovan? Commissioner Tantinerawat?
Aye.
And Commissioner Satterfield, aye. So we have a quorum on that. So now, moving forward, do you have some other comments?
I'm in receipt of comments by a butter, Joyce Jacobs, and I'll not reread them. You were taking notes when those were presented, and I agree. I won't repeat them, but I concur that those are conditions and to us considerations going forward. You were looking for information so that you could further develop this plan. You just hit on it. Drainage infrastructure complete prior to installation of solar fields. Complete. Natural infrastructure was one of the comments, if I can hone in on that. There was a reference made to the previous order of conditions that we approved. I would invite you to put that aside, and let's not use that as a baseline. Let's use prior to clear cutting as that baseline of any of our decisions from here forward. With that regard, natural infrastructure of trees and shrubs and grasses, et cetera. I recall a particular species that everybody uses for a visual barrier, an arborvitae. I think it's out of it's not, yeah, it may do the job in a more refined, they had a forest behind them, and an arborvitae isn't a forest tree. So something in the way of firs, spruces, oaks, and maples. When I hear that they're going to put him in a height, 5 feet, 6 feet or something. If you were to go to purchase them, typically there'll be calipers and there'll be diameters, and I'm looking for something of rather substantial caliper, and then some less so. That would stagger their development, so you'd have different levels of development of those hardwoods and softwoods. And further, if we were to allow several years ago, if I told you 100, I'd like to see a substantial increase in that number to better reflect the forest that was there, but more importantly to hold the water in a natural state, in a natural manner, and for the long term. Truth of the matter is, some of the species are not long-lived. They can't deal with New England winters, and it's a joke to plant an arborvitae back there. The deer would love it. It wouldn't last a winter once they found it. And again, those are all the same comments made by the abutter Jacobs, and I just wanted to hone in on them. So take that home. Thank you.
Commissioner?
My only comment would be, as I did drive through on December, I guess the 19th separately, but I did notice a lot of flooding. Actually, I think it was Deborah who had mentioned her wall coming down. I did take a video and I sent it to our agent of the wall starting to break apart. Maybe I misheard, but is there anything to help remediate that for the residents there?
In terms of repairs to their existing property, we could certainly work with them to come up with a solution.
Okay. And then long-term as well, where if for some reason these basins don't work out, you're able to help?
Yeah, we can certainly work with them.
Does the name McIntyre Hill ring a bell? Does the name John Denufil ring a bell in terms of ownership?
John, yeah.
Ownership?
Yeah, I believe that is the owner, the landowner.
Yes.
I believe so.
But you're not sure?
I
Okay,
apologize.
that's fine.
I didn't jot that down as a.
I prepared the application, which is probably why that was the owner of record as of this moment, was McIntyre Hill.
Could you? I get these on, and I'm still deaf.
Yeah, no, McIntyre Hill was the record owner as of the file.
McIntyre Hill LLC.
Yep, correct.
Okay.
So we're leasing the property
Understood.
from
Yep.
the existing owner who was the owner when you saw this application previously.
Commissioner Christian?
I would also like to make a motion that, as Mr. Erickson suggested, we have a performance bond. Just due to the history of this project and the damage it's already done.
Okay, we have another motion on the table.
And if we could refine it, could we limit the performance bond to the drainage, in as much as it will be complete prior to construction? And that's our key, because construction is rather kind of painless. It's really not disruptive. Are you boring these in? Or are you going to thread these in, or are you going to put concrete foundations under every
The
panel?
racking for the panels?
Yes.
They're ground screws. So we're not driving piles. We'll pre-drill the site and then put a large ground screw in, and then everything erects from there.
So it's pretty, and it's going to be done, and yeah.
So there's a motion on the table for a performance bond that we generally ask Commissioner Erickson to provide us with a number.
Okay, well, again, the tie-in bond will have a better feel for the value of the work that needs to be completed to perform that work. They would have more than Nick. They're going to get into the nitty-gritty of volume and erosion control measures, et cetera. So they'd have a better handle on the money.
Okay,
tie-in bond. So we can have the performance bond, but let's find out who's responsible for coming up with that number. And it's got to be fair to the applicant and fair to the abutters.
I would suggest that tie-in bond or whomever performs that third-party review does put together an estimate for a performance bond. They have access to bid tabulations for all of their construction projects that they can use to come up with average unit unit prices for different construction items. And I would most happily review that prior to issuing that to the applicant. So that would be my suggestion.
Okay. And so I'll call the roll for this motion that's on the table. Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantiner-Watt?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarahfield? Aye. That's for the bond. And I think at this point, we need to continue this hearing until we have more information for review. But we definitely want to thank you and for coming, and please listen to the abutters on this site. They've been through a lot.
Absolutely.
I'm sure, as I'm sure you've heard. And I think we can, do we have a motion to continue?
Motion to continue.
Second. All in favor? We've got Commissioner Christian.
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly.
Aye.
Commissioner Tantiner-Watt.
Aye.
Commissioner Sarahfield. Motion is continued to the February meeting. And thank you very much.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
All right, the chair recognizes Commissioner Jacob. Okay. So we're moving on to other business. And we've got an update here from, why do I have Mad River Solar in here as an update? Is that just from last month?
Were you going to, and I can step away again if we have to, but were you going to provide the commission with an update that Herlin had said about some of the ponding and what's being done with some of the drainage up there currently?
I have a note here. It says update on site flooding, pooling. Matt Bombachi from Bowler.
I'm happy to touch on it briefly.
Okay.
I haven't provided a full response, but I know Herlin had sent me the videos. I guess now I know it was your car, but of someone driving down the road and filming it. So the first thing we noticed when we looked at the plan within 2 minutes is we saw the water just draining right through the abutters. It was kind of obvious. So that's where we're taking. We have the basins. We're just collect as much water as we can and go around it. I think for the ponding, it seems like it's along the whole street, and our project is really just one part. So I noticed some of the videos you had shot were actually a little outside of where our solar array project is. So I've taken a quick walk out there. I'm going to walk out again just to see if there's anything else we can look at. So I'm still collecting a little bit more data on that, I guess, to be honest. But we are aware of it, and we're going to do the best we can to take a look at it and address it.
Okay, thank you for the update.
And that was December 18th, those videos that you shot?
I can find out, and I can...
That was the storm everyone's referencing, so...
I can make sure Herlin gets the dates on it. But yeah, it's saved on my phone, so it would be timestamped.
Thank you. All right. We've got Woodland Estates, Parks and Recreation easement, and the chair recognizes...
Again,
Jacobs,
this was...
and the commissioner, the chair recognizes Commissioner Christian as recusing himself from this. Did everyone have a chance to review the paperwork in your packet about the easement?
This was Agent Jamie sent in just an update and also the conversation that we had last month about the commission being interested in bidding for the easement, but Parks and Recreation really had kind of first priority over that, and it appears that there is an easement has been submitted. Parks and Recreation has voted to accept the conservation easement. There is still some language that's being discussed. Mr. Erickson, I don't know if you have any other input there. But basically, the easement is going, as far as we know right now, to Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, that's my understanding of it too. As far as I'm aware, the city solicitor had drafted an order for review by the mayor's office to be submitted to city council. I'm not sure if that made it onto the most recent agenda. I haven't looked to confirm, but I think that is the case. So his opinion was that despite the Board of Parks Commissioners legally being able to sign and execute that agreement without any input from the city, it would be more prudent to have the mayor draft that order, submitted to city council, and get city council approval, with the understanding that the Board of Parks Commissioners would ultimately hold that that easement.
Okay.
This would more appropriately be submitted to zoning, in as much as it was one of their requirements. Yes?
Yes, I think this is one of zoning's requirements, and I think zoning has had the opportunity to review the easement language and has provided feedback to Solicitor Pusateri ahead of his drafting of the order to the city council.
Wonderful.
This is a little off topic, but I know there were some complaints about some ponding on the site during the December 18th storm. So I'm in the process of preparing a email to the property owner asking for clarification on whether additional work will be conducted in that area to avoid future ponding in that area for storms of that magnitude or larger. As you recall, that inlet at the backside of the cul-de-sac is supposed to handle the flow coming down the hill through the woods and into the development. And there was some ponding noted around the culvert inlet. From what I could tell from the photos that I saw, it appeared that there's a temporary plunge pool constructed to try to trap sediments ahead of that stormwater inlet, at least for the construction period. I just want to confirm with the property owner that that is in fact the case, and that upon stabilization of the site, the grading will be repaired in that area, and that area will be stabilized so that water flows directly into that stormwater inlet without creating that ponding situation that straddles the property line.
Madam Chair, is that in any way, ponding, is that in any way under CONSCOM jurisdiction? Is that our problem? Nick, I'm not trying to take it from you, nor do we necessarily want it. But you said you were going to ask her if more work was going to be done. The Conservation Commission, we could force it to be done. Rather than ask for it to be done, we could tell her to do it, so that it gets done under under order, not under request or inquiry. That's all. It's gone on long enough. So, begs the question, is it in any way our responsibility? And if it is, let's own up.
Madam Chair, if we may have some answers, Ms. Hamburg is on virtually. If you want to recognize, she has her hand up.
Joanne Hamburg?
Yep.
Hi. Hi. Nick, have you been out there since we were out all together?
No, I'm just going based off of some photographs that I received of the site when we had that big rainstorm on December 18th, just before Christmas there.
Yeah, we did have, we got a significant amount of rain, but it did dissipate very quickly afterwards. We did get a lot of rain that came down the hill from the neighboring property, but it did exactly what it was supposed to do, and it did dissipate. We did put in the riprap, thank you. I couldn't think of the word, riprap, also around the mouth of it, but you're welcome to come and take a peek. I did also have our engineer go out and do a site visit, and he has prepared a letter to go to the ZBA when we meet with them next week to let them know that we have completed all the tasks that they've requested.
Okay. I did notice in the pictures that the riprap had been placed, and I noticed that some hay bales were installed ahead of the inlet as well to try to prevent some sediment from getting in there. I just want to make sure that when the work is completed, that there's no ponding there whatsoever, and the water is able to just flow right from that wooded area right down into that inlet and make its way down to the stormwater basin. So that there's not that ponding.
We can talk to Frank. I think a lot of it, once, we get the grass to grow, which will be in the spring, and, I think it'll make a big difference. But we can definitely, reach out to Frank. But all the elevations are correct and the water is going towards the drain.
Yeah, and that's what I figured. My plan was to send you and Frank an email so that we can get something in writing that just basically says that any ponding there will be addressed so that the water flows off of the existing grade and right into that stormwater outlet, just in case any touch-up work's required after the site's stabilized and all that.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
So to Mr. Donnelly's point, I think we will want to continue to monitor that. We are responsible for the drain because that is conditioned, but we also want to make sure that we're not creating or an extended issue where it's ponding behind and not going into that drain. That's still an item that needs to be resolved, but they appear to be working on it, hopefully, quickly.
Also, I don't know if I can I talk?
Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to mention that all that short-term ponding was on our property. It wasn't on the other side. So, it did all stay within the Woodland Estates property line.
Ms. Hamburg, that's good. That it is on your side of the property, but preferably that culvert is supposed to be working to drain all that water so that ponding doesn't increase to affect any of the other properties either. But it should be draining all the water off of that site.
All right, I'll ask Dillis and Roy to revisit it this week.
Okay, thank you.
Joanne, I challenged your engineer on that the base of that ponding area is 5 inches below the outlet. I challenged him on that. He referred to some stump. I know what stump he was referring to, but it had nothing to do with ponding or no ponding. So it was there, and filling it with stone, we'll fill it with stone, but the base of that hole will continue to have ponding unless you raise the bottom of the element of the.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it.
So
yeah, I don't.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's all been loomed and everything. So
when you guys finish.
Ms. Hamburg, were you talking? Had you made your comment?
Yeah, we just said that we had loomed the area, so I don't. From the time that we were out there on our site visit with the members of the board, it had not been loomed in the lower section, so that grade has come up quite a bit. If you go out to the site, you'll see the guys put a good 8 to 12 inches of loom all in that whole area. So the grade has come up significantly, but I have no problem asking the engineers to just take another look at it real quick.
So are we voting on?
This is just an update.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
All right. Then moving on, we've got, we don't have any forest cutting plans currently. The violation subcommittee, the violation enforcement orders. You will found in your notes, the chair recognizes Commissioner Christian. There is the subcommittee outline that was in your packet.
Yes, Madam Chair, as chair of the Violations and Enforcement Subcommittee, I worked with Herlin, and we put together an outline, which was in your packet this month, about what the process will be that we follow when the subcommittee is meeting. And hopefully you've all had a chance to review it. That being said, I would like a motion to accept our outline and procedures and acceptance of that, and that's how we will proceed as violations come before us, and how we're going to proceed with those that are already under our jurisdiction.
We have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. I'm going to call the roll. All in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner Christian? Oh, okay. Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantinaro-Watt?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarfield, aye. So motion passes. The outline is a part of the record.
Thank you.
you for all the work that you did on that.
Thank you.
And just to remind everybody, this is this committee, because of, it has to be a floating committee because we've just found that we have a lot of abutters on the commission. So we didn't want to make it be a committee. It has to be fluid in case there are abutters. So, thank you. Certificates of compliance. We've got 155-422-277 Tibbet Circle. This is a partial certificate of compliance, and from Herlin's notes, it says all set.
Yeah, this is an old development. I think we looked it up. It was like 2002, and all of these things just it's like paperwork that hasn't gone on over the years, and now this property at 277 must be changing hands again, and so the attorney doing the closing is asking for a certificate of compliance.
Does her comments reflect that she inspected the order of conditions and the finished product?
It says all set.
Let's sign it.
A motion to approve and a certificate of compliance for 277 Tibbet Circle.
Yeah. Let me call the roll. Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantinaro-Watt?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarfield, aye. So the motion passes.
Okay.
And we can sign these the next time. I mean,
I have signature sheets for the orders of condition or the modified and the order of condition, so we'll just pass those down. But the certificates of compliance, Herlin will catch up with us for those. But these are going down the line. 299 Lunenburg Street, Justin's coming up, but we have to eliminate the old order of condition that's out there so that they can proceed with the new order of condition that we're writing. So this is a certificate of compliance to close out the old project.
That's it. Perfect.
Sorry, we should have actually kind of piggybacked this at the same time while you were here because you ended up waiting.
and this also reminds me, though, Mad River Solar has
Mad River Solar has an order of condition. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's finish Justin first.
But we need to.
This was going to be very expensive. This one.
So,
yeah,
Commissioner Jacobs said what I was going to say.
They're double dipping here. They're getting 2 for 1.
Motion to approve a certificate of compliance closing out the previous 299 Lunenburg Street storage unit
Well done.
project.
Good job. Full compliance. And a second?
A second.
A second? Okay. Commissioner
favor.
Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantinaro-Watt?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarfield, aye. The motion passes.
Justin didn't want to take time, but then.
Oh, thank you.
Where would you be without this woman? Huh? Yeah.
Getting better connections with the computer.
And then we have the miscellaneous.
That went with it.
Business cards. We wanted to talk to Herlin about ordering some business cards with just with your name on it as a commissioner or some kind of recognition. You recall, this isn't our first date at this rodeo. Okay, we need business cards. So we were hoping,
The whole world got rid of them, number one, and for 25 years
Well,
I
we
haven't
need
had
some
one,
way of-
so I can get rid by without it.
some way of documenting that we're on the commission. If we go to a site, we can document.
So let me tell you where this came from really quickly, okay? We have been discussing the Unitil tree cutting up on Ashburnham Street. And I was out there the other day and trying to explain to the two police officers that were directing traffic that I am not a crazy lady that's going to be out here harassing the tree cutters. I need to go over and speak to the supervisor about what's going on.
We needed documentation that she wasn't what she is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it just brought up the thing about if we had a business card again that we talked about. The officer was very good. He looked at me like, okay, crazy lady, go ahead, but.
If I may, a business card to me is a business card. Do you mean a placard?
Something, we
well-
can use to document.
Yeah, you don't give out business cards, but you have identification.
Kind of
You put it around your neck and then you go be a crazy lady.
That one, yeah.
All right, and so as long as everybody is in agreement, Herlin's texting,
some
and she
sort of
said she'll work with us to do that.
Yes.
I have a question. I just made a note, other than business cards. How did we make out on the other Sheldon violation, the big one in the back?
We're going to work on that.
Mr. Nouveau, so.
Yeah, so that'll be the first project that comes up in the violations subcommittee. Yep.
And on that, is it not, we're dealing with 192, but let's go to 92, is that the other one? The most recent?
191,
The most recent house on Sheldon?
190,
No, 92, and 185's over here. What's the other one? To the left of Cody's, to the left of the farmhouse, there's a place going in.
oh, that's 80 and
Is
96.
that jurisdictional?
No, the big one in the back, the big stream.
Yeah, I get that. No, the house being built, is that jurisdictional?
The one, there's two.
92?
There's 92, that is not.
Because they got a rather large Olympic-sized swimming pool in the back. There's no pool, but they got an excavation, huge. It was brought to me by an abutter, and I didn't know that we had entertained that property at all, so.
It wasn't, because the first one, 80, which is the first one, that's next to the wetlands, that was conditioned. The next one up is 90 or 92 or something, next to the farmhouse. And when we were out there, Commissioner Christian and Herlin and I, it looked like that's where they're putting their septic system. We haven't seen the plans for that.
excavation for a
So
septic?
the excavation in there, it's got water in it.
It was
And
half full of water like a pool.
It's amazing that you can be on the top of that hill and have water sitting to that depth. But that's where I believe the septic system is going.
Yeah, well, that explains it.
Okay.
I assumed he was keeping any runoff on his property so as not to get spanked. But, okay.
Oh, okay. So we've got the Nashua River Watershed Association riparian restoration opportunity. That was a part of our packet as well. And I think, as before, there's no reason not to support this.
I said for a
Butterman's
long
been working on
time,
this.
we ought to push for it. It used to be Maury Slocum used to own the dealership on River Street. And the 50/50 Diner, I think, owns it now. And Murphy's Auto is to the right. And if we could just get their cooperation, I've said for a long time that River Street is our Sturrow Drive. Anybody coming in Route 31, Route 140, or 31, off of the highway, that's our Sturrow Drive. And that area there infested with invasives. And every year they come up and they go down, and they come up and go down. Something it could be an experiment, man. I mean, treat the heck out of that stuff and see if you can control it in one area. And I just think it would be a good...
Madam Chair, Marissa from NWRA has her hand up. She's online, would like to...
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Speak.
Marissa? Oh, okay. Go ahead, Marissa. Welcome to the commission.
Hi. Hi, how are you doing? Yeah. So I'm glad that we get a chance to talk about this project with you all. My predecessor, Al Futterman, did some plantings and some work in Fitchburg during his time with the NRWA, but we're still actively engaged in this project. Just based on what I was hearing, I did want to note that the grant is restricted to manual invasive species removal, but we're very happy to go to riparian areas where some of that could be helpful and help with
Marissa. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Manual invasive species removal.
Yeah, exactly. So pulling and cutting.
All right, skip that. That's it.
Go ahead,
that area,
Marissa.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
No, the tool for the job for Japanese knotweed is you need to use a herbicide, and it needs to be done in September. So that
So you're gonna, that's what I'm saying, we're not talking manual. Skip that section, that project, that's ruled out for this particular program.
So what would you prefer to target? What is more bang for the buck that you can manually pull? You know, knotweed isn't what you're gonna be after. Maybe something like buckthorn would be.
Bittersweet?
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed on knotweed. We tend to not, address that just because it, manual doesn't work. Buckthorn, bittersweet, Japanese barberry, garlic mustard to a certain extent. Those are all things that we'd be happy to help with if there are sites that the commission is interested in us addressing. And this would be in April of 2024.
Public and private.
Public and private, exactly. Yep. So really just looking for willing landowners. And we also have a tree planting component as well. So we have some native tree and shrub seedlings that we can provide through our grant that we'd be very happy to plant around Fitchburg.
So when you say manual, are you using power tools? So are you cutting and removing like a 3-foot section, or are you cutting and dabbing, or is it strictly manual?
Unfortunately for this grant, it is manual.
Then I think she needs to tell us where she can work, really. You know, if you're targeting bittersweet, big stuff you usually cut and dab, or they take a 3-foot piece out of the middle, so the two never touch, but you still, we'd have to go after her level of expertise, which she's comfortable removing.
This is manipulating the program, but if you went in and manually cut it back, and then you left the site and left it to public and to a private to continue management after the initial program. Is that within the program?
Absolutely, and we've done that on other sites as well, where we came in and helped reduce the amount, and then they cut and dabbed later, or they dabbed later.
Get it under control.
So we just wanted to start the conversation, really, and maybe we can talk about some sites offline as well. But just if there are any front of mind areas for either invasive control or native plantings, we'd be very happy to work with the commission and see what we could do to help.
Thank you so much, Marissa.
Thank you. I mean,
can I ask a question? Because these programs tend to work better if there is skin in the game by the property owner. Do you intend to match, or are you going to put in 100% volunteer effort and tree or shrub costs with no input from the landowner, no economic investment?
Yeah, that is what our grant is supporting us to do.
They work better when they have skin in the game if it was a 50-50. You'd get double your bang for the buck if it were centered around that. And it's not typical government, but if it was a 50-50 split, you could put 100% of your effort in, and he'd put in, you'd get double the trees and double the bang for your buck. And it seems to work better because when they invest in it, they're going to look after it after you leave.
But we could do you could do public land. Like I volunteered on some programs, and they did, buckthorn, and you can pull that, shake the root, throw it down, and it won't re-root, it'll die. So either they had volunteers pulling by hand, or they use what they call a root wrench, and they pull the bigger ones. But your bittersweet, that needs to be cut and dabbed. Your Japanese knotweed needs to be sprayed. And
If I'm going to put a red maple in a riparian zone, and, excuse me, if the program is going to pay for a single red maple, and I had a matching 50-50 match, you'd get 2 red maples for 1. That type of program works better than no skin in the game for the landowner. And you get 2 trees in, that's key. And they take care of the trees because they're invested in it. That's key to these programs working. Just saying.
Okay, thank you, Marissa. If you have any thoughts of a site, maybe we could let Herlin know, and Herlin can work with Marissa.
Could I talk to her by the phone?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'll be willing to reach out to her.
That's great.
Or to, either way.
Marissa, Commissioner Christian would like to speak with you offline regarding some of the spots he's thinking about.
Justice, trees.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Moving on, we've got the Unitil cutting request. Are you here for Unitil?
No.
Oh, you're just...
I got a question after the meeting about some stuff on my property that I wasn't sure how to
Okay.
approach. So I was just going to wait until you get it.
Thank you for your patience.
No problem.
So Unitil, some of you may recall, the gentleman from Unitil used to come and let us know like once a year what was happening. And during the pandemic and the quarantine and all of that, that fell by the wayside. And it looks like Unitil, we're going to have some communications with them starting again about the, as one of our stakeholders, the work that they're doing in the city. And I think it's wonderful to have them coming back and communicating with us like they used to. You remember? The kid used to come. It was once a year. We did the Asian longhorn beetle thing with them too. I mean, I think we should definitely be working with Unitil some more.
And Mr. Clapham, I know you spoke to him. I spoke to him. He called me, and he's going to submit cut plans to Herlin before they do anything, so that we can have an opportunity to review and at least just give him a chance to say, here are our areas of concern that you're working with. So. Oh, matter of fact, hold on one second. Herlin is telling me he's virtual.
We'll also have a hand raised.
Okay.
Oh, Chris Moultrip has got his hand up. The chair recognizes Chris Moultrip.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm the manager of forestry for Unitil. I sit up in Concord, but Dave wasn't able to come tonight. And, he did fill me in quite a bit, and I was able to actually look at the site yesterday to kind of see what the area looked like that was impacted by the, a lot of the talk has been about that solar facility as well. So it looked like we walked kind of into something there, and unfortunately had some, some pretty poor debris removal done on site there on Ashburnham Road. So I'm happy to see that it was cleaned up quite well. I'm not sure how you feel about that. There were a few extra things that needed to be done out there. There were 5 trees that were going to be left on site rather than removed. There were a few trees that are still marked out there. 5 of the ones that are set back a little bit further were going to be left on site. And then the remaining 10 tall pine trees were going to be taken down by a crane rather than those bucket trucks in order to reduce the impact. So that was the plan along Ashburnham Street. And, again, we apologize for that mess that was left. They were not really sure what happened there with our contractors, but unfortunately the log truck that was going to clean it up was away on storm the following week. So it took a little bit longer than we would have hoped to get back there to clean it up. But
Mr. Moultrip, if I can interrupt you for 1 second, this is Commissioner Jacobs, and I will tell you, I live on Ashburnham Street, so was partial to all of this that was going on. And understand there is the Mad River Solar issue unrelated to what Unitil is doing. Our concern at the time is that the contractor taking down the trees actually left stumps and trees and debris in the stream channel and clogged drainage basins. Okay, so that was an issue. We understand that there's maintenance that had to take place and still has to take place. There is still some cleanup to do on the Mad River Solar piece. They've cleaned up that pretty well. They still have some northern end beyond my property. There's still logs that they removed actually from the stream channel, but they're still on the bank, and it wouldn't take much for them to roll back into the stream channel, so I'm hoping that that's going to get cleaned up. So that's how the Conservation Commission kind of became involved in what was going on with the tree cutting.
Right, okay. Yeah, so Dave did tell me as well that he spoke to you, and you've kind of come to an agreement about the communication, and like you were mentioning earlier, we do an annual tree warden notice that goes out to the tree warden and kind of gives maps and areas that we expect to trim annually in each town. And I think Dave had mentioned that he was planning on CCing the Conservation Commission on those emails that explain that. And I'm sure now that you've spoken, the two of you will, he'll keep the Conservation Commission up to date on any projects that large-scale projects that might be happening in wetland-type areas.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair, could I ask Chris, will Unitil be participating in the philanthropic effort of giving away trees this spring?
Yes, we will be. Yep.
And you have a history of giving some to the Department of Public Works, but many years ago, the Conservation Commission was the recipient of a number of trees as well. I'm very proud of my record of getting your trees in the ground, whether they were given to us or the DPW, and they're no good unless they get in the ground. So no matter how many you give the city, unless they get put in the ground or survive, they'll wait. I would hope that the Conservation Commission would be on your list, and or if you have a shopping list, a wish list of trees, I would hope that we could fill in our wishes.
Yeah, I'm sure we could make that arrangement.
Would you do that, please? Thanks.
There will be 200 trees available in the Fitchburg, our mass service territory area this year. So I'm sure that we could provide you with, I don't know, maybe 10 trees if that.
Yeah, I think there's two different programs then, or maybe not. I don't know if it was in-house. I know the DPW got them almost without asking, and I know we did when you first started this after the ice storm. When you started this program, we got them, and I don't know that the rest of the Unitil coverage got them. And I know now the ones you're speaking of, I suspect they were picked up down at Unitil's old building on John Fitch Highway. I thought it was a different program. Maybe it was just a different method of distribution. We'll take them, whatever's available.
No, I think it's probably the same program. There's kind of a combination. There's been a mail order, or there's been
there you
delivery.
Go. That's right. The mail order is the new distribution.
Well, we're not going to be doing the mail order in 2024. I think we find that people prefer the larger ones that we deliver in person, and they're maybe about 3 to 6 feet in height versus the mail order ones that are a foot long and kind of questionable whether they're going to survive. So
yeah,
we've opted to go with the larger one.
I confuse mail order with filling in the email and the pickup date, et cetera. Yeah.
Yeah, it still is that though. So yeah, you'd fill out it online, and then, but I mean, we can fill that out for you if you're looking for some trees, which we can provide. I would just need a contact. Or
What's the date of the program, Chris? Date?
Let's see. Usually, I think it's around the first week in April that we get them delivered, and then do our deliveries.
Okay, then the burden's on the CONSCOM to have our wish list together for that, and then we'll get it to you, Chris. All right, thank you.
Well, so we have specific species, so you can't just
right. I understand that. Yeah.
Right.
Well, you'll know what they are on the first week of April.
Actually, if I were able to look it up really quickly now, I could figure it out.
Because, I called the day I got invited last year, and you said they were all sold out. Go figure.
Well.
The day I got invited.
The good news is it's open to us a little bit before the public, so as long as we make this agreement now, I can make sure that
That's why we're doing it, Chris.
All right.
Before the rest of the public.
Let's see what he's got.
Yep.
I have some sycamore, 4 sycamore trees that I put in at maybe a 25-cent piece diameter. Well, there's 3/4 of an inch, and right now they're about 4.5 to 5 inches in diameter, and
Nice.
and it's only been 6 years. I've never seen those 4. I've never seen them grow a tree that grow that fast. Holy mackerel! So I'm very proud of that. That's 4. That's 4 out of 40. I put in 40 of their trees in different places.
Trying to find this list in my email right now. I actually have it.
I'll hunt you down.
I'm sorry, I can't come up with it right this second.
I'll hunt you down, Chris. Thank you.
Well, I think you should work with him to get the trees.
Then you got to find places to put them.
Yeah.
That's the key. That you can put them anywhere, but they don't belong anywhere. They belong.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Moultrie.
All right, thank you.
Now the finance report. Herlin submitted a finance report. And see, I think we're going to be getting one of these. Was it?
Either either every quarter or every 6 months. I mean, this has been since Herlin has held our position as conservation agent and been responsible for this. As you can see, we are collecting all the proper fees, whether it be our portion of the State Wetlands Act or, hold on one second. Let me. So we are now collecting all the fees that we're supposed to take. What we do see is at the bottom, there are some outstanding fees. And this was a discussion that we had with Herlin even when we started to talk about fee collection and how do we manage the public hearing notice, because that's required in the Wetlands Act and the ordinance that a public has to be posted in the newspaper 5 days prior to the meeting so that people know in the public that there's a hearing being held. And so what we decided is we'll pay for it. The bill comes to the commission and then we bill the applicant. But as you can see, some of the applicants right now are not paying. So we will have to go after them to try and get reimbursement for these. That being said, maybe we should discuss taking another tact. It looks like the average bill, because it's all based on words or letters, I don't know how the Sentinel figures out how they charge per inch or whatever, is around $130. There's a few that have been more, a few that have been less. If it's advisable, I think we ought to just charge a flat rate of $130, bill the applicant up front as part, let it be known that part of when they're submitting checks, you have to pay $130. If it turns out that it's $135 or $140 or $150 even, fine, okay, we'll absorb that. It's better than having to chase them afterwards to pay the public meeting fee. Let's collect it up front for a set fee. And if everybody's agreeable to that, I would make a motion to that.
It's a rule and a
yeah.
regulation. We have a Fitchburg bylaw, included in the bylaw as one of our rules and regulations, and I would like
Well,
to support that effort.
It is in the act that they have to pay for the public notice fee, not the amount. It just says that they have to pay for it. So we're going to charge them $130 to.
But your protocol
Yes.
for collecting it, place it in the rules and regs for the Fitchburg Public Ordinance by vote of yes.
Okay,
Is that a motion?
Yeah, motion to charge then the applicants $130 for the public notice fee that's required.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, let's call the roll. Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donald?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantino-Rawan?
Aye.
Commissioner Satterfield, aye.
Can I comment on the finance report?
Yes.
Thank you. Easy numbers that come to my attention. $4,000 in 6 months. $8,000 in 12 months. Net. Over 25 years, I should see $200,000 in the Conservation Commission account. Do I?
Commissioner O'Donnell, first of all, right off the bat, the $4,000 that you speak of, I assume, is violations and fees and fines? Mm-hmm. That goes to the city coffers, not CONSCOM. By law, State Wetlands Act and the ordinance, fines and violations are payable to the city. Well, that's all paid to the city, but it does not come to the Conservation.
Oh, you want me to go up to 11,000 times 25 years over 6 months? Is that what you want me to do? Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, Herlin, for this document. I should see $400,000. No.
Now that case
$300,000.
you can make. That case you can make.
I should see $300,000 in the Conservation Commission account if we were doing our financial fiduciary responsibility to the good citizens of Fitchburg. And we could spend that money on something significant and substantial to conservation in the city.
Mm-hmm.
But I said it, you'll always be poor if you don't conduct business, you're going to be poor. And the city has a money issue because we don't manage money very well, and we got to do it. And I don't want to be complicit. We should thank you, Joyce, and thank you, Herlin, for bringing this to our attention. And if it continues the way it used to be, shame on all of us. But right now, let's get going, baby. Let's spend the money. It doesn't do any good in the account. Spend it on something going forward.
Japanese knotweed.
Buy land. I don't make it anymore.
Okay, we have the minutes. We have no do you want to go under correspondence? Would you like to, did you want to be off the record, or did you?
Off the record is fine. It's just more of a curiosity question with my property, that's all. So my house was built, I live at Stickney Road, and my home was built back in, I believe, 1945. One of the farms prior cut out a man-made pond on the property. I was just curious what the involvement would be for like maintaining it to keep weeds out of it or remove any of like the pond muck itself just to make it swimmable and stuff that it used to be. It's probably no bigger than the size of this room, if anything. I just didn't want to make assumptions and start, like removing leaves and going about it without talking to you guys before.
No, Stickney. This gentleman's on Stickney.
Stickney?
Yep. Beyond.
I get Kinsman out of that.
Yeah, no.
So I didn't know what the steps would be, going about that. If being man-made, if you had to do any additional homework, like permitting or anything like that, or...
So the gentleman, because I live in the area, so I know exactly where you are. When you go up Stickney it crosses over McIntyre, and you're heading to Sheldon. This gentleman's about halfway through. The road kind of dips a little bit. On either side, there's a culvert that goes through. If you're going toward Sheldon, he's on the right-hand side going to Sheldon, okay? So the question would be is, how does the water to the pond get into it? Is it fed by a brook or a stream?
So it's spring fed, but there is storm runoff that comes from the neighboring property, which is part of the reason why I'm curious the involvement to try and clean it to help it retain more water. Because I don't know if you've seen the logging they've done currently on McIntyre.
They're on the other side across from you.
Yeah, they're going to be coming next door to me, which is where some of that runoff comes from as well. And I'm just trying to avoid a potential situation as what Ashburnham Street is dealing with. So by removing, maybe some of the pond muck on the bottom, which there's probably a good 2 feet. I've stepped in the water with muck boots and just sank. And it is a clay bottom from what I've been told by the Jargos, whose father is the one who made the pond. So I'm just trying to make it to help prevent any future flooding and maybe make it so my wife and I can utilize it to swim or, just let our dog swim and have clean water on the property. I just didn't know what the involvement was with it.
So it's not, it's spring fed. I mean, it's not a stream. It's not, I mean, it could be runoff is part of that, but it's not dammed up from a stream that creates the pond. So I'm not sure how we've dealt with this in the past, if we've dealt with this in the past.
I think a good place to just start working with Herlin in the Community Development Office. And
probably what Herlin's going to advise is to just, you'll file what's considered as a request for determination, and then you'll write out what you want to do and present. You can hand draw plans, show us where the water feeds from, and then, and I think it's like $25 for that permit or something to just do that, and then we'll put it on the schedule and do an analysis of what it looks like. The conservation agent will go up to your property. You can show her around where the water feeds from, and then that will help determine how we're justified in what we need you to do.
Protect you. Man-made, I figured it was better just to, attend and talk to you guys direct rather than just assume and step on toes and then, have a big issue occur from it. So, and this way too, I can kind of see if it's worth the time and effort to, go in there and try to clean it, or just let it sit as it is and play its role. Because some of the fellow neighbors up the street told me they used to swim in it when they were kids. And that's pretty much just the goal, is to have a place to swim and, use it for recreation to swim and have the dogs go out and stuff of that nature. So I wouldn't be altering the size or anything. I just want to clean it for that reason.
And I understand from Herlin that you spoke to her over the summer and that too.
Yeah, and I lost contact through my phone and everything. And I wasn't sure how to get back in touch.
It does not appear that this parcel is a wetland.
It does come up on the map from what she had told me prior, and that was the last conversation we had before.
So, Madam Chair is correct. Then just connect with Herlin. It's in the community development, or go online at Conservation and connect with her again, and she'll walk you through that process and go out and take a look at it. Okay.
Yeah, that's all I was just curious about. So.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you guys for your time. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Nice evening. Okay.
Meeting minutes, there should be.
Here?
Yeah.
We've got the, can I have a motion and a second to accept the minutes for the regular meeting of the March 1st, 2023 meeting? Regular meeting, March 1st, 2023.
Motion to approve, that was in your original packet, right? Yeah. Motion to approve March 1st, 2023 meeting minutes.
Have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantinor-Awat?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarahfield? Aye. So the minutes are accepted. And
then we just handed out December. What they're going to try to do now is to get us 2 months, one to catch up and one previous each meeting, so that we'll catch up quickly. So the ones that were just handed to you were the December 6th, 2023. That was our last meeting.
Okay.
So we're back on schedule as far as that goes.
This is a an incredible amount of work that they've been doing. It's most
This is, thank God, they have a new admin, Melissa Richards, in the Community Development Office, and she's sort of been assigned the task of catching us up on all these minutes, and it's been very helpful.
I'm reading them, and they're like
Detailed.
meticulous, detailed.
Yeah.
They're on
Oh,
the
yeah.
they're on the money. I'm looking for my name, it's there. And when I remember what I said.
And what you quoted?
It's on the button. No, it's,
I think we're lucky to be having minutes that we can
well,
accept.
let's hope we never need,
Well,
never
it's
need them,
there.
but we better have them, man.
Yes, but so Melissa will be providing us with, like, next month in February, we're going to get January's minutes, tonight's meeting, and then we're now up to April for 2023, so we'll catch
Oh,
up
these
with
are
both.
wonderful.
And sooner or later, we'll just get one, be caught up. But anyway, motion to approve the December 6th, 2023 meeting minutes as just provided.
Just a quick question.
Go
Does it
ahead.
matter if the date on the front page is different than the rest? It says, or maybe I've got it, never mind. I'm
It
catching up.
does say 5/17/23 on here.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that, how that
It's just down
impacts-
here in the,
Yeah, in the lower corner, yeah. So we can just ask that that be removed as part of the motion that, to approve with the, removing the date from the lower right-hand corner.
This is good, man.
So I second.
do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, Commissioner Christian,
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly,
December.
Yeah, twice.
Commissioner Jacobs,
Aye.
Commissioner Tantiner, one.
Aye.
Commissioner Sarafeld, aye. Motion passes to accept the minutes, removing the date from the lower left-hand corner.
Wow.
And do we have a motion and a second to adjourn the regular meeting of the January 3rd,
Motion?
2024 Commission?
Second.
Got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for your commitment to public
And if
service.
Herlin is still listening, please get better and come back next month.